Alright guys, hello and welcome to round one here. Just walking in the room, so lost a few minutes on our clock here off the get-go. Hopefully not too big of a deal, as we get to start with a Noble Hierarch into Kitchen Finks against Grixis. Alrighty. It's going to slow us down a little bit for sure. Stayed up pretty late last night, so I assume this is Grixis. Alright, Thoughtseize now either on our Kitchen Finks or Court of Calling based off whatever else they have. Probably taking Kitchen Finks here. I wasn't ready to do my pre-stream spiel. Alright, they are going to take our Kitchen Finks from us. And it is Esper. I said Grixis, but the fetch lands obviously point a little bit more towards Esper. Now we have another Noble Hierarch to work with. Probably should have just played Temple Garden. Don't need double black in the main deck. And I'm going to want to play this, or get this Horizon Canopy into play. I also don't need double white in the main deck, so it's not a huge deal. Next turn I'll be able to chord for X equals 2, potentially get like a Devoted Druid or something. And the turn after that we'll be able to chord again. Not sure exactly what we're going to want. If I draw a Coco, I'll probably just play that instead. And an Inquisition / Thoughtseize for the last chord in my hand. This looks like something different for waiting for them to pay costs. Okay, an Angler. So it is Esper with Angler. Scavenging Ooze, a little bit too slow here. Scavenging Ooze, the main reason that I wanted to consider only playing green mana. But the Angler was able to beat out the Scavenging Ooze anyways, so it wasn't a huge deal. We just play Temple Garden and eat our Graveyard. Seems like it's probably going to be the best play. Might have to discard Horizon Canopy because of it, though. I mean, Esper isn't as likely to be playing a Graveyard-based deck here. Or not Graveyard-based. Shit, I'm tired. Discard-based deck. A.K.A. Liliana. We've seen the Inquisitions and the Thoughtseizes, but Liliana isn't as likely. Going to be a little bit of crinkling today as I fetch cough drops and put them into my mouth. We can make Scavenging Ooze into a 4/4. We could even block with Noble Hierarch and get it all the way up to a 5/5. But the other thing that we can do is simply get it up to a 4/4. At that point, then we're racing our opponent. Alright, yeah, we can also eat this Death Shadow. So we've already made it a little bit bigger, even so. Probably want to eat my opponent's cards whenever we can to keep them off of Snapcaster Maging. So right now they could Snapcaster Path to exile us. We're going to crack Polluted Delta, grab a Swamp here because the life totals are close. They're going to ink our Court of Calling, that's fine. Scavenging Ooze is all we need. As long as they don't have a Fatal Push. That looks like it's a fatal push, though. Oh, great. A Tasigur that I was not expecting. Okay. Still fine. Yeah, like I said, we can kind of just try to race this. I'm going to exile Noble Hierarch and Kitchen Finks from my graveyard. I don't want to block with Noble Hierarch, right? Yeah, I don't think I want to. I think I might even just want the mana because I want to have enough mana to crack Horizon Canopy and then cast a Collected Company here. Well, if we draw the Collected Company, I guess we don't have to worry about that as much. Let's smack for 5. Alright, so this is a good way to start off. It means that we probably have a lethal Scavenging Ooze attacking next turn. Not totally sure. We'll wait to cast the Collected Company until my opponent taps out. They could just be leaving open the 1 blue mana spell. A little punished for not exiling my opponent's Death Shadow, but there was a reason that I didn't. Alright, we're going to let them declare attackers, then cast Collected Company. Well, we're right here. It is going to get Stubborn Denial. That's the name of the spell that I was thinking about. So now I can chump block with Noble Hierarch, but that puts us in the same spot. I think what I'm going to do is take the damage and then just crack Horizon Canopy. Alright, they end their turn. Let's draw a card. Opponent only on 1 card in hand. It's not a spot removal spell. So I feel decently. If we can hit a Devoted Druid off Collected Company, we win. What else could we do? We could Chord for X equals Kitchen Finks. I believe my opponent is just going to activate Tasigur. So if we Collected Company into Noble Hierarch, we win, assuming my opponent doesn't have a Cryptic Command. If they have a Cryptic Command, I mean, that seems pretty bad for us. They have a Cryptic Command, we can still win. We try to enter combat. We don't win this turn, though. Yeah, I think we gotta go for it. I don't think we can beat Cryptic right here anyways. I'm trying to think about it, but, like, we can Chord for 1. I guess we can plan on chump blocking with Noble Hierarch. Or just plan on chump blocking with the Collected Company. Could also just have Snapcaster Mage, though we're playing around Snapcaster Mage. You know what? I'm going to go for it. I haven't seen too much Esper Death Shadow, but I don't think decks are really just playing Cryptic Command right now. I could get totally punished here and lose the game. Alright, Duskwatch Recruiter, so we didn't really hit, but we also didn't really miss because we get to put our opponent down to 1 still. So now on my next turn I'll have basically 3 lethal attackers. And what are we going to see here? Now Cryptic? Oh no, just an activation of Tasigur. Sure. So my opponent can grab and play a Death Shadow, or we can give them a Stubborn Denial. I don't love giving them a Stubborn Denial when we have Court of Calling, but I think we have to here. Yeah, let's give them Stub. And we're going to operate on the idea that their last remaining card in hand is a blank. So they've got a card off the top, a Stubborn Denial, which we're going to play around, and a Thought Scour. We should maybe be activating Scavenging Ooze proactively again here. If my opponent plays a Delve creature, I'm going to be pretty miserable about that. I think they might have it, yeah. Just like exile their whole graveyard so I can't exile it with Scavenging Ooze again. Alright, they're going to let us block here. So that's good. Oh, they're not going to attack. Sweet. Alright, that's going to give us a lot of sweet plays. Let's start exiling Death Shadows here. I think we're at the point where my opponent can now no longer double block this Scavenging Ooze. I can activate it 4 more times. There's only 2 more creatures in the graveyard, though. So I guess they can double block here. Okay, yeah, so I kind of need, like, Gavany Township. I guess they can't double block if I also swing with Duskwatch. So that's kind of reasonable. What else do I want to do? I could Eternal Witness for Horizon Canopy, but at that point I'm just looking for like a Birds of Paradise. That seems like a lot of mana taken out of the hands of Scavenging Ooze. I think I'd rather just activate Duskwatch here, even though that's not going to be super fruitful. We know we won't be able to do it afterwards, so let's activate Duskwatch Recruiter, grab the Devoted Druid. And if we swing with Duskwatch and Scavenging Ooze, we're essentially trading Duskwatch for Gurmag Angler. My opponent blocks Gurmag on... Oh, no. They're just going to give it to us. That's strange. They definitely could have played around for a second here. They would have been chump blocking Gurmag on Scavenging Ooze or chump blocking with Tasigur. They're a little bit mana constrained because I guess they needed to be activating Tasigur here. They also didn't have 5 cards in hand, right? I believe that they had less cards. Yeah, they had 3 cards in hand. All right. Let's hop into the sideboard, see what we got here. Well, I don't love these cards. I think these cards are better against Grixis, though, than they would be against something like Grixis. Or they're better against Esper than they would be against Grixis. Again, apologies, a little bit tired. We're going to board out these ones. We definitely want in a Path to Exile. Voice of Resurgence seems reasonable. Sin Collector seems reasonable. And Scavenging Ooze is the only card that I know for sure that I actually really want. Probably going to go on the voice plan. Definitely going to bring in Path to Exile. That's only 4 cards. We don't have to bring in Abrupt Decay because it only hits Death Shadow. What's up, RD Jedi? Our opponent's not going to bring in something like Is It Static Caster unless they're splashing for it, which isn't totally unreasonable, but not something that we have to concern ourselves with. Really, Infinite Life could beat my opponent, but they also don't have to concede to it, and I also don't think Vizier is, like, great in the matchup. It lets us play around Path to Exile. Think I'm going to board out like this. I'm not sure if I want this Ballista. I think we might just keep it in because we can afford to. We don't really even need to board in Voice and Sin Collector. I'm not going to do Tidehollow Sculler. Pretty light sideboarding here. No Fulminator Mage. They are a 3-color deck, but we didn't see any manlands or anything like that I really care about. They're probably going to wreck us game 2, and then we'll wreck them game 3. But this seems fine to me for now. On the play here for game 2. Alright, we are going to keep this one, I believe. Yeah, seems fine. We have a double Path to Exile hand, so we're probably going to get our hand stripped from us, but our mana's also decent. Alrighty. Hopefully we don't get our bird pushed. Looks like we are not. Bunch of fetch lands in the graveyard for my opponent. Could be a turn 2 big monster off of a fetch land. Alright, Thought Sees the Path. Sounds good. I guess they can't really take Path, but we have Eternal Witness in our hand though, right? They're going to take the Collected Company, which gives us a pretty solid curve. Here comes either a 3-3 or a 5-5. Nope, it's a Fatal Push. Scavenging Ooze looks like a great draw. The question is, do I want to cast it here? Casting it without having any mana left open seems a little bit unnecessarily risky. I'm going to go ahead and just play Vizier. We know what we want to play the next turn. It's Eternal Witness, so there's no reason to play Scavenging Ooze yet. So let's just hang on to this Eternal Witness. Going to want to hit a land within the next 2 draw steps so that we can cast this Collected Company, and our opponent is desperately hoping that that doesn't happen. Here comes Snapcaster Thoughtseize to take the Eternal Witness from us. Now they're going to see that we also have Scavenging Ooze, though. And that's going to be a little bit scary for them as well. The Scavenging Ooze obviously could not have prevented that one, so not a huge deal. So we can just go ahead and exile the Fatal Push here. It seems somewhat reasonable to me. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just main phase exile this Fatal Push. We're going to make our opponent's life total higher, but they haven't already cast a Death Shadow. I think we're okay. My opponent's pretty happy about that trade. Looks like another Fatal Push on the Scavenging Ooze, and now we're in top deck mode. We can crack our Horizon Canopy, try to find a Birds of Paradise. I don't love that. I think we're just going to hang on to our mana here and attempt to chord for X equals 2 in the future. Probably going to get our chord countered. Opponent digging. And inking. Well, we've got 2 cards left, so at least they have an actual decision to make. Take our Path to Exile. Leave us with Chord of Calling. Yeah, we do have to be careful of Stubborn Denial. Devoted Druid is a great draw. This will elicit a Fatal Push or a Path to Exile from my opponent if they have it. Have to F2 now in case they try to Path to Exile my Devoted Druid, though. Guess a Path to Exile on a Devoted Druid is not the worst. Chord of Calling is going to get Thought Seized. See a Chord of Calling. Put it now down to 5 life points. It seems pretty good too. Let's draw a card here to be mana efficient. Collected Company sounds good to me. If we hit Vizier off this Collected Company, we can win. We could also Eternal Witness back to Vizier in our graveyard, generate infinite mana, and then cast this Collected Company for free. If we hit an Eternal Witness, we win. Also plays around, both play around Stubborn Denial. I think I like Eternal Witnessing back the Vizier. It's a little bit risky, but for some reason, I'm just kind of feeling it here. When your opponent lets you untap with a Devoted Druid, you always feel pretty good about that. So maybe we get punished just the tiniest bit here. But I'm going to go ahead and take that risk. Let's cancel that. I'm going to tap Devoted Druid for mana and then untap it for a -1/-1 counter before we do anything else. So let's go and get Vizier. Could also just like go and get Eternal Witness or go and get Scavenging Ooze. Feel pretty confident about this though. Let's see how it goes. Alright. In response, Devoted Druid is going to get Path to Exiled. So, like I said, we can put it in our graveyard if we want to. I think I am going to let this get exiled though. I think the extra basic forest will be good for us. Part of the reason to make this play, opponent is at 5, has 2 cards in hand. All we have to do is activate Gavany Township, and we win the match. Here comes a Gurmag Angler, though. Yep, Gurmag Angler. Path to Exile is still pretty good. Could put our opponent to 1. They can now counter either of our spells for just 1 blue mana. I'd rather them counter Path to Exile. We could also just upkeep the Path to Exile, so that way their blue mana's tapped. No, I want to smack. I want to smack them for 4 damage if possible. I do think the last card in their hand is a Stubborn Denial, but okay. It enters the exile zone. My opponent gets another blue mana. And we will attack them down to 1. Opponent now has 2 cards in hand, and I've got 2 lethal creatures and a very lethal Collected Company. Not the Collected Company will actually kill my opponent, but it certainly won't give them any outs to win. Here comes Flaying Tendrils. Both of my creatures are exiled. Seems good. That's a way to get back in it. My opponent plays a Hallowed Fountain and passes the turn. I'm just going to main phase this Kitchen Finks. Never mind. I'm going to main phase the Kitchen Finks instead of the Coco. Actually, no. I'm gonna Company here. There's a few cards that make this Company a little bit better than the Kitchen Finks. Mainly, if we can just get any 2 creatures, it means that we are lethal through a blocker. Opponent packs it up. They could have drawn Snapcaster into Flaying Tendrils. They conceded a little bit prematurely there. They didn't know exactly what was going on, because Flaying Tendrils does exile, so it would have dealt with both of my threats fine. But, you know what? Opponent wants to concede. I am not going to judge them. That is a good 1-0 start for the Modern Challenge. Hopefully we can keep it going. That round 1 was pretty good for us, I think. Opponent trying out something a little bit different with the Esper Death Shadow. I definitely would rather play against that than Grixis. Though you look at the Grixis list and they're actually like a little bit bare on the Grixis cards. The red really just being for Lightning Bolt, Culligan's Command. But then Is It Static Casters actually kind of just a huge one. And I wasn't sure exactly what Esper had in store for us. Turns out it was just Flaying Tendrils. But that wasn't a huge deal. They were able to get a 2-for-1, but then we got it right back. Here we go, baby. 10 seconds. Get hype. What do you guys think we are playing against for round 2? Probably some more Grixis. I almost put Dusk to Dawn in the deck. I think it might actually be reasonable. Just kind of forgot about it, but Dusk to Dawn seems like a good sideboard card for this deck. Opponent's going to be on the play here for round 2, playing against Katu Buta. Looks like our opponent is not back yet. Let's see if I can set up MTG bot. I think that'll let me do commands like record and things like that. And deck list. Let's go ahead and authorize this. Alright, so MTG bot should be in chat. I'm just going to read the various commands here while we wait for our opponent. Alright, so yeah, that's the big one. Now you can do auto card, you do exclamation point card, and then type a card name. That's the biggest one. That's pretty crazy. Alright, well hopefully this opponent shows up eventually. I mean, I don't mind. I'm kind of at a interesting crossroads here because I want to win, but I also want to provide entertaining content to my viewers. Opponent has gone to 6 after much deliberation. Were they really just thinking that long about whether or not they wanted a mulligan? They went to 6, put a card on top, and then they're going to shuffle away their card anyways. We have a pretty solid hand here, and then we get to play a Scavenging Ooze out eventually. Don't think my opponent can afford to bolt the bird on the play and down a card, but we'll see here. Probably bodes pretty well for us. We'll love to draw a shock land here. Gonna take 1 point of damage, no blockers on that guy. Alrighty. Well, you know what? Basic Forest also isn't that bad. Alrighty, I'll look at your comments after the match. think you were talking about the Eternal videos on my YouTube channel. Which, if you have not already seen those, feel free to check it out. Oh, and also seems like you like how the music sounds now. So we can kind of block here. What's awkward is it kind of prompts my opponent into bolting my bird. But then it would mean that I get to untap with a Scavenging Ooze. I think I want to wait one more turn here. We also get to untap and play Ballista for X equals 2. How do we lose this game? Opponent bolts us. We go down to 11. And have no cards in the graveyard. I just want to bide my time a little bit more and then play a big Scavenging Ooze. Alright, let's take it here. What's weird is we should probably see, like, we're playing around just exactly Lightning Bolt, maybe also Lightning Helix. Because they could have bolted our face and kept us with our bird. I just didn't want to lose my bird. Alright, they play an Eidolon. We actually get to play a big Ballista and dodge Eidolon. But what's also pretty interesting is that if my opponent doesn't kill Devoted Druid, we could untap and win the game. Which is always something I love to do. We could put onto the battlefield Scavenging Ooze and Devoted Druid so that they're in a really tight spot. I don't actually think I like that as much. Yeah, I almost just want to play a big Ballista. How do you not just play Devoted Druid here? Opponent mulliganed. The thing is, like, say they just keep open mana. I'm probably not going to go for it on my turn. I'm fine trading off this Duskwatch Recruiter for Eidolon too. But I might also just want to block with it. Maybe that's better. No, because we can block Swift Spear and then shoot Eidolon. Let's see what happens here. Alright, we're gonna get a trade with Eidolon. Feel pretty good about that. Now I think we can just kill Swift Spear. Then my opponent's on 3 cards in hand. Alright, that line took me a little bit to find. I did not think my opponent was going to block like that. This might seem a little bit funky because I just threw away 2 mana sinks. However, we already have the best mana sink in the deck, and that's Scavenging Ooze. What's going to get to happen now... My opponent's going to smack me with Swift Spear for 1. If they don't play anything else, that's a little funky. Okay, well... I now get to play Scavenging Ooze with 3 mana up. And I should just be able to ooze and then activate it 3 times here. And I feel pretty solid about that position. So let's eat this. Opponent has to try to bolt in response. Oh, looks like they've F6'd even. I'm just going to continue to eat creatures. And do I also want to eat Duskwatch Recruiter or Walking Ballista? Again, I'm putting myself off of like a next turn win. Let's not crack here. Alright, opponent's just going to concede. That's what I was kind of under the impression of. It might have seemed like my plays were a little bit weird. But in reality, Scavenging Ooze is just so good against burn that you don't need to make infinite mana and put a huge Walking Ballista out onto the battlefield. You can do Ballista for 2. That really should be good enough to get you there more often than not. So these are the cards that I like in the matchup. Cards that I don't like are Court of Calling. It's just very slow, and you don't really want to go for the combo. Also don't love Vizier, but I love the ability to potentially gain infinite life. This is one of the matchups where I think Devoted Druid is worse than Vizier. Both still quite fantastic. Then Walking Ballista is an interesting one. I think in general it is too slow, and also you don't need it. Just putting all 4 of your Kitchen Finks out on the battlefield should be enough. Excuse me. What am I missing here? Could board in Fulminator Mage. You could keep in a Court of Calling. I think I'm going to do that. Just keep in 1 Court of Calling. There's also Aven Mind Sensor. Fulminator Mage could bring back in another combo piece. Just going to keep it like this, though. I think this is pretty solid. All right, we've got a turn 1 Noble Hierarch into a turn 2 2/2. Our opponent's already mulliganed again. His hand seems good enough regardless. We have the Court of Calling, which I don't love, but it might wind up being okay here. Opponent goes Wooded Foothills. Are we going to see a Goblin Guide? We're going to see no creature at all. That is pretty lucky. Okay, so main thing in this matchup, especially post-board, is just trying to draw searing effects, or not draw, trying to dodge searing effects. So the less searing blazes and searing bloods my opponent has, if they just have an Eidolon here, that's probably okay. But searing blaze and searing blood are going to be the good one. Looks like it might be an Eidolon. No, it's a Swifty and another Swifty. But opponent choosing not to do anything on turn 2. That's fine. We'll take it, go down to 18 here. Not a huge deal. Can play a Selfless Spirit to protect Noble Hierarch going forward. I think I'm just going to play Duskwatch Recruiter. Again, not sure if we're going to activate it. Same kind of thing going on as the last time. And we really just don't want our Noble Hierarch to die, and we want to try to cord out some Kitchen Finks. Glad you liked the Eternal gameplay. So I could block, they bolt me. I think we're just going to take it. If they Boros Charm, it's a little unfortunate. It would put us down to 10. We then go down to 9 off Horizon Canopy and try to company into some Finksers. Just don't know what this block really does for us. It saves us 2 points of damage. Can really do that at any point. Alright, so it's going to be Lightning Bolt targeting my face, and then that is it. Okay, that's not as bad. Took a Lightning Bolt out of my opponent's hand, and now Rift Bolt on the following turn. Could go Abrupt Decay plus Selfless Spirit here. I think I'm just going to main phase a company here. Hope to hit some Kitchen Finks. Let's do it. If we hit a good number of Kitchen Finks here, this is a good number of Kitchen Finks. I'm going to take Scully as well. My opponent can get the Rift Bolt back, or get the card that we take with Scully back immediately. Choose target opponent, sure. Alright, we go back up to 12 here. We get to take their Path to Exile, so they can Rift Bolt Sculler so that they get to Path to Exile the Kitchen Finks. It kind of means I probably don't want to swing, but then I'd have to chump block with Duskwatch. So that puts my opponent where they're going to cast Rift Bolt, they're going to cast Path to Exile, and then they're going to be able to hit us for 6. You know what? I'm just going to say that that's okay. I don't really want to chump block with Duskwatch Recruiter still. So we're going to hit them for 3. And I think what I said is going to happen here. My opponent's going to swing for at least 6. They also get their draw step. So it's a little unfortunate. If I had the Selfless Spirit in play instead, it might have gone a little bit better for us, but not incredibly so. Let's grab a basic Forest. If we draw a land, we'll be able to cast Coco and Abrupt Decay. If we don't draw a land, like right now... Did they play Mountain? I think they played Mountain and we knew about Mountain. Fair enough. So we can also chord for X equals Scavenging Ooze here, go up a little bit in life points. Chord for X equals nothing and cast Abrupt Decay. We just use Noble Hierarch and Abrupt Decay. We can flip our Duskwatch Recruiter and then use Abrupt Decay. The other thing I'm looking at is Selfless Spirit plus Duskwatch and then decay this. I think I just want to cast another Collected Company. We can Eternal Witness something. The Sin Collector isn't going to be super good for us. It could potentially take a Boros Charm out of their hand. Yeah, let's go for Sin Collector, Eternal Witness. This gives us some potential blockers, too. All right, Sin Collector targeting our opponent, and Eternal Witness, I guess, is just going to target Coco at this point in the game. We do get their Boros Charm. Very nice. Very nice. So my opponent's Hellbent. I think I'd like to double block one of their Swift Spears. Question is, do I want to play a Noble Hierarch? I think I might just play Noble Hierarch, smack for 4, put them down to 9, and then go chump chump. Pretty much have to chump block now. But hitting my opponent for 4 seems pretty good. The race is going to be tight. All right, Goblin Guide, not a huge deal. Let's see what we reveal. We reveal and draw a basic Plains. Think we're going to trade off with both Swifties and Chump Block Goblin Guide. It's going to put us at a point where we're not dead to any removal spell. Or dead to any burn spell, I mean. We're going to main phase a Coco. And keep open Horizon Canopy, Blooming Marsh. If we decide we want to Abrupt Decay, we can. We can also flip our Duskwatch Recruiter here. You know what? Let's do that then. Let's upkeep. Stop on my opponent's turn. So we're going to cast Coco on their upkeep. That's going to allow Duskwatch to flip into a 3/3. But you know what? We want to smack anyways. Sending for 3 seems pretty strong. We'll keep open Abrupt Decay mana just in case. But yeah, let's send for 3. That seems way too good. I think we do want to flip this guy anyways, though. So let's go ahead and Coco on my opponent's upkeep here. Alright, so Duskwatch is going to transform. Let's flip this boy in response. If we don't hit a creature, could have been a little bit awkward as we needed to then Abrupt Decay, and then we were dead to Boros Charm. As is, we're just going to try to trade Vizier for Goblin Guide here. Not doing anything too crazy now. We are throwing away our infinite mana combo. See what we reveal. We reveal and draw a Verdant Catacombs. No reason to drop to 3 life points, though. Or even 4. No reason to drop to 4 life points either. So next turn, we're going to hit our opponent for 4. Our opponent needs to have 2 relevant spells, and we're just going to Court of Calling for Kitchen Finks to stay at a high enough life total. Well, I guess we can also go for it since we drew another Vizier. I guess that doesn't hurt, right? Let's start by casting Selfless Spirit. Oh, it only costs 1 mana, right? Alright, now we will Vizier. We have infinite mana, and we win the game. Even though I was pretty sure we were going to win the game regardless here. Might as well do some infinite combo shenanigans. So we're going to make infinite mana real quick. Cast Court of Calling for X equals 2. This is probably going to draw the concession out of our opponent here. We did keep both Duskwatch Recruiters in the deck. Whether that's correct or not sure. That'll win us the match. Sweet 2-0 start. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be back with the next round in just a moment. This hand seems okay. It's definitely lacking a lot with nothing to do with all this mana. But still like the idea of having all this mana. Looks like we might be up against... Nope, looks like it's Jund. I was going to say it looks like it could be Living End. Well, these are the kind of hands that I actually really like against Jund. You just kind of vomit your hand on the table and see what else you can draw. Because now, if my opponent has more discard spells, they're completely blank. And yeah, we just get to draw any, or cast anything that we draw. Oh, Knight's Whisper. That's a crazy one. So I guess it could be a Death Shadow deck. I was going to say we can even cast Eternal Witness right now. Let's cast Eternal Witness into Devoted Druid and swing for 1. Seems good. Put our opponent down to 14. I don't think it's super likely that they're a Death Shadow deck, considering their mana has not caused them to take any damage thus far. Hopefully we just draw, like, Walking Ballista here. That would be pretty sick. Be a pretty sweet mana dump for the next turn. We have access to 9 mana next turn. You can cast 2 Collected Companies. What are we going to see? Culligan's Command, making us discard a card. Sounds fine. I'm going to attack my opponent for 3 down to 10. And what else are we going to cast? Verdant Catacombs. All right, that one's not great. But let's smack for 3, put him down to 10. Put it on 6 cards in hand. So we've definitely got a game ahead of us here. Interesting to note, my opponent is actually playing Black Moon. They have fetched all black mana. There's no green mana here. So Chandra, Damnation. Well, can't play around discard spells and play around Damnation. That's really unfortunate, though. But we can still have some pretty live draws like Collected Company and the like. I'm not going to worry about fetching up a... whatchamacallit? A basic land because our mana's fine. That's definitely a little bit unfortunate. Here comes a Liliana. Nope, this one's the Chandra. Well, Chandra can still kill Noble Hierarch. That seems like a pretty good valued Noble Hierarch. Now let's get the Coco. No, Vizier. Okay. That should still keep Chandra at bay. We can have 6 here. Opponent down to 8 life points. Are we going to see like a Batter Skull or something huge this turn? Or is Chandra just going to... Wait, +2 mana. What could that possibly be? I don't know what the hell this card does. All right, it counts as Black and Red Devotion, which is now at 6. Yeah, I'm going to have to sacrifice a creature. Beginning of my upkeep, I take 2 or sacrifice a creature. All right, on my upkeep, I have to take 2. Then I get to play a Scavenging Ooze, and Scavenging Ooze is going to die to Chandra. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my opponent's just going to tick down Chandra, targeting my Scavenging Ooze here. Huh. No, it's not. Okay. It's probably okay for us. Fatal Push is probably not great. We could gain 2 life points in response. I think I will. We don't need all those Birds of Paradise in the bin. And our opponent is now hitting us for 2 a turn here. Alright, so we lose our guy. Liliana's going to uptick after my opponent plays another card, assumedly. No, not going to? That seems really weird. Oh, they're just going to play another Liliana. Gotcha. Alright, so they wanted to hang on to one of the cards in their hand. And they wanted to get rid of a Demigod. That seems like a pretty reasonable card to discard. But now we know about it. So I guess now we could keep in Scavenging Ooze. Demigod, trigger Demigod, get the Mogus, God of Slaughter online. Wow! What a kill out of nowhere. That's pretty silly. Alright, so what do we want against our opponent here? We definitely want Selfless Spirit. Not sure how much we can play around that. The Path to Exiles are decent against the demigods, but I'm not sure if that's the route we want to take either. Fulminator Mage is interesting. Voice of Resurgence is probably good. Sin Collector, I know for sure, is coming in. Another Scavenging Ooze could also be okay. And I think Tidehollow Sculler is going to be pretty good, too. Don't really think we need to Abrupt Decay their Blood Moons. I think I just want to bring in Voice of Resurgence. I'm not even confident I want another Scavenging Ooze, because the main thing I'm thinking about here... I think Infinite Life will be good against my opponent. Though it's hard to say, because they will probably just not concede to Infinite Life and then still be able to kill us because they're a control deck. We'd have to actually make sure that we got, like, 600 life. Would 600 be good enough? I don't know. My opponent can easily swing for 20 a turn. 20 over the course of 30 turns. Yeah, but what if we gain 1,200 life? I don't know. Seems pretty crazy, doesn't it? They are a control deck, so Fulminator Mage is going to be good against them. Walking Ballista's at an interesting point, because while I don't think it's great, it can finish off both Chandra and Liliana. Liliana I'm not as worried about. Not really super worried about Chandra either. But maybe we want to give ourselves access to that. Do I want the Viscera Seer? You know what? I think Viscera Seer is good enough. I think we don't want these Path to Exiles. I think that's just not the avenue we want to interact with our opponent on. And we probably... Oh, you know what? We probably do want Abrupt Decays, don't we? And Rex Sage. Yeah, that makes this a little bit trickier. Just for the cards that our opponent's going to board in against us. Alright, at that point, I think we have to board out all of our combo pieces here. What else could we do? Not bring in Fulminator Mage. I don't love that against the control deck. My opponent's lands aren't that complicated, and they're a Blood Moon deck, but I don't think they should be trying to Blood Moon us either. We could have boarded out a Birds of Paradise, but they're so good to help us play around Blood Moon that I think I like them. We could save Verdant Catacombs here for a basic. We're going to keep this hand for sure. We're just going to hope my opponent doesn't have Blood Moon. They went down to 6 off their mulligan here. And they put a card on top. Well, that's like not mulliganing at all at that point. Swamp Inquisition. No, Thoughtseize. So probably Eternal Witness getting taken here. Or Abrupt Decay if they have the cage. I still think you probably just take Eternal Witness, right? Alright, they go for the Abrupt Decay. Means they might have some more graveyard interaction. So we get slightly rewarded if we, like... It makes me feel like my opponent might just be trying to Blood Moon us. I guess because we've got Gavany Township in the deck, that's always a solid reason to Blood Moon us. So I kind of want to crack Catacombs. I'm grabbing Swamp at that point. Alright, let's do it. The main thing that we need is 1 green mana in play, but we don't have to have the green mana in play right away. Alright, looks like we're actually going to get a little punished because now I'm not going to have green mana for the companies after my opponent Blood Moons. Alright, yeah, I definitely misplayed this. This Swamp should have been a green mana. Now I might just lose the game. My opponent's going to play Blood Moon. And then... No, okay. That's that could still mean a Blood Moon is coming. Crack Marsh Flats for basic Swamp. Blood Moon us and hope that that's good enough. Yep. Alright, I should have played around it. Should have grabbed the Forest. That was a pretty silly mistake. If I had the Forest, I could have played the Birds of Paradise. The green mana is just so much more important than the black mana. Now we have to draw one of our 2 basic forests. Opponent's going to Damnation, Eternal Witness. That feels like reasonable value, but our opponent is much more likely to draw out of this before we do, considering they can cast every spell in their deck, including Demigod of Revenge, alright? We've got 3 turns here. This was such a bad mistake. I could have been casting all these Cocos. Alright, well this is what you don't do against Blood Moon. Here comes a Magus. That's going to hit us for 2 more on upkeep, and then we're dead on my opponent's turn. We lost. That's unfortunate. Well, now you guys know what not to do. That was a super quick round. Opponent did have the Blood Moon for us. A lot of times they do keep in Blood Moon because they need to, like, anger us anyways. That was a pretty quick one. That's going to make us 2-1. A little bit salty. Just for how quickly that went. And it was totally avoidable, too. Which obviously induces the salt. Scavenging Ooze to start off with, and that's going to be it, but 1 more mana means that we'll be able to play this Collected Company. Scavenging Ooze and Path to Exile are pretty good just across the board, so I like our prospects here. Opponent kept 7, and looks like we might be playing up against Grixis here. Excuse me. Yep, Watery Grave and 2 Fatal Push or Inquisition. Alright. Well, they can't take Collected Company. Can't take Scavenging Ooze or Path to Exile here. They will probably just take Scavenging Ooze. That leaves us with no good play next turn, but it'll let us keep a Path to Exile in our hand, which might be pretty good for us. Hopefully. We have the awkward choice here of whether or not we want to swing into a Grixis Death Shadow deck. I think I'm going to not. It'll just preserve our life total. Our opponent has to have a 1 or 2 mana reactive spell here, or I think we're just going to win. Like, if their plan's just Gurmag Angler, we're in a pretty good spot. So, basically all I'm looking at is I can take 1 damage to deal 1 more damage. Seems not worth it. It's tricky, because if this was a real Grixis deck, we could have done that. Opponent definitely upset now that they took Scavenging Ooze and left us with a Chord of Calling, and that they also weren't able to take the Devoted Druid. That's a little bit awkward for them. If they have another discard spell, there's a decent chance we can still win. Is this going to be a Terminate or a Lightning Bolt? Looks like a Terminate to me. It's a Terminate. Good path to exile our Devoted Druid here. I actually don't hate that. Means that we get to guaranteed cast Coco next turn. I think I'm going to go for that. Just want to guaranteed cast this Coco. And I'm going to main phase it to play around Stubborn Denial. Get to take a Kitchen Finks and a Viscera Seer. Our opponent knows about the Chord of Calling in our hand, so they're going to have to interact with this in some capacity. What we're going to hope to do is cast Vizier, and then our opponent has to respond by killing something right then and there, and we might be able to chord in response to whatever's going on if we draw a land. Alright, they're going to Tasigur and keep open Stubborn Denial / Fatal Push, but they can't keep open both, and I think it's just a Stubborn Denial here. What's tricky is if we just play the Vizier. You know what we can do? We could now chord for Selfless Spirit. Yep, alright. They had a Stubborn Denial in hand. What's so tricky about this combo, and I'm glad my opponent conceded, like, we're not just going to go for it there, because if they have a Fatal Push, it blows us out significantly, because we also have the chord. We can chord for X = 2 to find a Selfless Spirit beforehand. But yeah, people definitely concede a lot, and the deck I think is a lot better in paper, because you never have to go for the combo. You can just show your opponent the combo pieces, see what happens, and then kind of bait your opponent into conceding there. So I take out Walking Ballista against this version of the deck. Pretty sure we went Viscera Seer out as well. And I think I keep 1 Devoted Druid out and take out a Noble Hierarch instead. We want Abrupt Decays just for Izzet Static Caster. Voice of Resurgence is just a good card. Sin Collector's good. Tidehollow Sculler I usually don't go for. And then Path to Exile I bring in, as well as the second Scavenging Ooze. And this is typically what I go for here. There's some other options that you have. You could Linvala because it shuts off Tasigur and Izzet Static Caster, which Static Caster in particular is just such a powerful card. How are my audio levels? They look fine. I could maybe turn down Spotify a little bit here. It feels like it's probably too low now, but that's fine. Yeah, Fulminator Mage is always an interesting one. Orzhov Pontiff I don't really like against this build of the deck. Opponent's not really super likely to bring in Grafdigger's Cage because they're a Snapcaster deck. And Tidehollow I just don't like in the removal-heavy matchups. Also, it's a Culligan's Command deck. That seems pretty terrible, too. Alright, this hand is definitely a little bit awkward with only having 1 mana. I like mana dude hands like this on the play better, actually, because it puts your opponent into a position where they have to choose between discard and spot removal on turn 1. Whereas now, if they're just going to lead with discard, and then they can still spot removal our guy. I'm going to keep. I think also having the Path to Exile is just going to buy us a lot of time here. That's a pretty great draw, too. No complaints. So, our dude is definitely... Oh, no Fatal Push. We are instead going to see a Thought Scour into Culligan's Command Fatal Push. That sounds pretty good. Sin Collector cannot take Snapcaster Mage from my opponent, but still pretty good. We're going to Windswept Heath into Godless Shrine. Ooh, Street Wraith. We're going to see another Street Wraith into Death Shadow already, or Thoughtseize Death Shadow. Nope, this is going to be a Gurmag Angler. 2 mana 5/5. Seems solid. Oh, okay, that's a little bit better. Collective Brutality taking our Path to Exile and our Noble Hierarch from us. Seems solid. Ooh, we could play Voice of Resurgence here. Seems pretty good. It would mean we fetch Godless Shrine. Might want to fetch Godless Shrine regardless. Yeah, I feel like that's just going to make my opponent's game plan that much more awkward. Let's grab a Godless Shrine here. Our mana's a little bit awkward because we've got such heavy requirements here with Eternal Witness and Sin Collector asking for completely different requirements of our mana. So, yeah, we want to draw, like, Temple Garden to turn on everything in our deck. I guess that wouldn't turn on Fulminator Mage, right? Did I board in Fulminator Mage? I did not. Opponent plays a 3/3 Death Shadow. Probably don't want to try to race that. We could attack for 3, but then that's going to give them a 6/6. Could put them in a position where they have to double block. Or we're like threatening a double block, I mean. I think I'm just going to take 3 damage for the time being and power up my Noble Hierarch. I don't want to double their clock. They only have 2 cards in hand. Let's just play Noble Hierarch and say go. Opponent F6 had no intentions of fatal pushing with my Voice of Resurgence in play. Probably just didn't have it. Not sacrificing our Voice of Resurgence just yet. Let's take 3. Or actually, I guess we might take 6 here. But opponent does have to worry about like potential awkward crackbacks from Voice of Resurgence where I get to block and then also attack my opponent back here. They're going to go down to 7. Yeah, I don't know. We're threatening lethal here. Think Noble Hierarch might die? Yep, there's the Static Caster. Man, that card is so nasty. So nasty against us. Kind of just have to take 6, then chump block, Eternal Witness. That means we want them to use it in their next turn cycle. Okay, yeah, we have to play this. So, how we win this game is by playing Eternal Witness next turn and then being able to block with either Eternal Witness or like the the token. This is going to give my opponent Is It Static Caster targets for 2 successive turns here. Don't want to increase their clock at all. If I attack, that means I'm dead to Lightning Bolt. Just such a weird position to be in. Alright, they are going to let us block with Selfless Spirit here. Seems pretty good. They realized it was bait. That means we can still afford to take a hit from Death Shadow. Alright, Eternal Witness is going to hit the bin now. Doesn't mean we're dead, but it is not good at all. Devoted Druid would still be a great draw. Okay, Abrupt Decay. Got 2 options here. Feel like we have to just take the Death Shadow. That's going to buy us a lot of time. Means that we are still drawing pretty awkward to Static Caster here. And it also means we're not clocking our opponent either. But the other option is to kill Static Caster and die in 2 hits from Death Shadow. So I think this is the better option. By passing the turn, we're giving my opponent the option to like bounce Death Shadow with... Oh, you know what? They might not block because they have a Death Shadow in play. Alright, that was free value, I think. This card definitely does not need to have both Flash and Haste. Like, it's completely irrelevant, the Haste on this creature. Alright, they didn't they didn't block last turn. I think they will certainly block this turn. But it's still worth trying to make it happen here. Alright, Devoted Druid, like I said, pretty live draw. That means now, on our next turn, we can chord for X equals 2 with Voice of Resurgence backup. Oh, please cast something end of turn. No, not quite. Alright. They're going to main phase kill my Devoted Druid here with a Culligan's Command. No, Kozilek's Return. Alrighty. I'm going to put Devoted Druid in my graveyard in response. Oh, wait. That's not how this works. This doesn't exile. Never mind. Kozilek's Return happens. I get my Voice of Resurgence back, and then Is It Static Caster can finish off my voice token. We're in such an awkward spot because we need to draw both a land... Oh, if they attacked... That would have been a disastrous punt from my opponent if they had just attacked there. And do they have a Death Shadow for main phase 2? It's a 1-mana spell. Oh, Tassiger. That's a 1-mana spell too, isn't it? Alright. Tassiger kills us in 3 hits here. We need to draw land into land so that we can get Coco online. Don't love our chances against a Static Caster. In general. Dead to Bolt next turn. Dead to Death Shadow next turn. Birds of Paradise is going to die. Let's concede the game. So you know what I'm actually thinking here? Static Caster gets us so good. What if we bring in another Devoted Druid and cut another Noble Hierarch? That seems kind of sweet. Walking Ballista can't do enough against... You have to cast it for X equals 6. If you have 6 mana against... I don't know. The Static Caster's so good. Maybe we just board in Linvala. Doesn't die to Lightning Bolt. It's a flyer. I go back and forth on Linvala. It's obviously not great against Tasigur. Like, it doesn't stop the relevant point of it. It stops Tasigur just as much as it stops Gurmag Angler, you know? Tasigur did not need to activate that game to be relevant. We could trim on a Court of Calling. Card's a little bit expensive. You also saw it be expensive that game, and we're cutting mana dudes. So what if we did something like this? Could actually cut another Chord even, and we are going to get to be on the play here. So that potentially turns on stuff like Fulminator Mage and Tide Hollow Sculler, just as a result of being on the play. Tide Hollow Sculler is good against Snapcaster Mage. If their hand is Snapcaster Mage Fatal Push, you take the Fatal Push and then the Snapcaster is blanked as well. I think I'm going to just try this. This is 5 mana dudes. Maybe I want to put another mana dude back in over a Court of Calling, but I am playing all of my Devoted Druids. Alright, we'll try this. Would like to board in like a Dusk to Dawn or something like that. Alright, this hand's fine. It's a little bit on the slow side, but we're going to be able to cast everything that we draw. Scavenging Ooze is going to be a relevant threat if it resolves. Though I guess it's pretty unlikely to resolve, isn't it? My opponent should either have a discard spell or a 1-mana kill spell for it. So I guess that's not going to happen. But maybe we can hang on to this Coco. Would appreciate that. Olivetti. If you let us keep our creature here. Throat is feeling a little bit better now that we are more into the swing of things here. So that's always good. This is either I mean, I guess it must just be a really tough one. Opponent decides to keep their 7. We're just going to say Overgrown Tomb, go. No spot removal in this hand, but it's not super weak to a Staticaster just yet. Well, that's a great one. Do I want to crack Windswept Heath? Probably. I kind of like having a lot of green mana, though, too. Do I want to keep taking damage off Horizon Canopy, though? You know what? I guess that's fine. I can take a damage off Horizon Canopy here. Because otherwise I'm taking 2 damage off of Windswept Heath, grabbing a Temple Garden. So we actually do gain some traction, sequencing it like this. You can cycle Street Wraith with a Voice of Resurgence out. Opponent going to go down to 16. And maybe even farther, down to 13 already. Alright, well now we got to think about if we actually want to attack or not. 2 black mana, what is that? A Collective Brutality, taking our Collective Company and our Voice of Resurgence? Looks like it might be. Yep. Sounds good. We're going to play Scavenging Ooze, exile Street Wraith, and smack our opponent for 2 here. Fetching up a basic forest. That's a sweet draw too. Let's crack Verdant Catacombs. We don't have any double black. We actually do have double white in the deck. That's right? Yeah. So playing this pre-combat to pump our Voice of Resurgence Elemental token. Taking the Street Wraith here to play around all sorts of things. But I think we're free to just do it main phase here. It's like a chance we'd rather have something else in the graveyard. Or something else not be in the graveyard, rather. Hand's still a little bit awkward here. We might be cycling this Horizon Canopy on our main phase. Alright, a 2/2 Death Shadow. Well, you know what? Especially with this Path to Exile, we've got to be able to race here. And the other thing that I'll say about trying to race is I guess my opponent actually can Stubborn Denial this, which is pretty funny. All right, let's see if they do it. Go for the Stubborn Denial. Cool. So we're just going to smack our opponent for a bunch of damage in the face. I am going to crack this Horizon Canopy before getting in there, because if we hit a Birds of Paradise, it's going to add 1 to our clock. Though, you know what? We can also add 1 to our clock by eating a card with Scavenging Ooze. Would I rather do that, or would I rather play around Snapcaster Mage? Well, this is 5 damage, but you know what? That's not going to be too much different. We're going to put our opponent down to 6, so we have lethal for next turn here, regardless. And if my opponent, like Snapcaster Collective Brutalities, the Elemental token, we'd rather just keep open the green mana here. Don't crack their Delta. All right, they're going to grab our Kitchen Finks. That was the downside of cracking with the Canopy. Maybe I should have just played around that and held on to it. All right, then a big Death Shadow. Opponent gets a 9/9. But still put our opponent in a pretty precarious situation, especially if we can try to draw another spot removal spell. We've got 2 draw steps to do it. Let's go ahead and draw a card. Another Scavenging Ooze. So here I could just play Scavenging Ooze, attack my opponent for 4+3. We'd put them down to 1. Polluted Delta is no longer a card that they can cast. And I think we should be able to just race them. It's a little precarious. But I don't think my opponent is planning on doing anything with this Polluted Delta other than sacrificing it here. It's not lethal, which is awkward, and if we wait another turn, we might just be able to overwhelm my opponent. Alright, let's go for the overwhelm strategy, I suppose. But what happens if they just play a... Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put another Scavenging Ooze out onto the battlefield. So this opens us up to Kozilek's Return, but my opponent already discarded a Kozilek's Return. That might just mean that they have another one if they were willing to discard the first one. They are going to crack Polluted Delta here and go down to 3, grabbing a tapped Shockland, I imagine. Alright. So we would have actually been reasonably okay to swing out. Is this the Kozilek's Return? It is, but we get to keep Scavenging Ooze. And our opponent is now at 3. Okay. I can't make Scavenging Ooze into a 10/10 anytime soon. Let's just play this. Yeah, we're just going to get to start eating cards here end of turn. Opponent's life total is so low, though, that they have to be really careful. If they don't play any spells, our Duskwatch turns into a 3/3, which seems like a drawback. It kind of is. But it also gives us a lethal attacking creature. I probably could have played around Kozilek's Return. I kind of felt like it was coming because why else would they discard this other one? But I also could have just attacked my opponent, and that would have put them in a really rough spot too. I don't care if they make a Gurmag Angler or something like that. That's fine. Are they attacking? Wow. Okay. I'm going to take it. So we took 10 there. It's a pretty sizable chunk. I have to make sure to activate my Scavenging Ooze before I crack this Windswept Heath. No good Snapcaster targets for my opponent here. I think we're just going to see a big monster, because that's the only thing that's really 2 mana, right? That they'd have to pay costs for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see Gurmag Angler. Okay, Tasigur leaving up 2 mana. Sounds good. I'm going to make Scavenging Ooze into a 5/5. Means they probably have an answer to Scavenging Ooze. Then I'm going to crack Windswept Heath and go grab a Temple Garden. So assuming we're going to see an answer to Scavenging Ooze here after I attack with it, Path to Exile is a pretty sweet one to follow up the turn. I don't think I want to... I think the reason that my opponent isn't doing anything is they want to bait me into attacking with Duskwatch Recruiter. Let's just leave Duskwatch Recruiter back as a chump blocker. Let's make them use a spot removal spell on Scavenging Ooze. Snapcaster plus a double block? That's not going to work out super well. Must be Snapcaster chump block. I like Snapcaster chump block here more than I like Snapcaster double block. Though I guess I just get to eat 1 remaining card with Scavenging Ooze, and then we would actually trade here. Still a pretty solid trade, 2 for 1. And I've gained a ton of life. At that point I could Eternal Witness back the Scavenging Ooze, or just Eternal Witness back the Path to Exile, clear my opponent's board. They've got 2 cards in hand. Yeah, we're going to kill Tasigur first. Pretty sure I'm going to eat my own Scavenging Ooze. Pretty sure I don't need to eat my opponent's Kozilek's Return. We're just going to play Eternal Witness and Path Death Shadow here. Main reason that we're doing this over something like returning our collected company is because we don't want to play into a stubborn denial here from our opponent. We did just turn on Kozilek's Return, Snapcaster Mage. That's a little awkward. Though, yeah, I guess, yeah, it's pretty good. Opponent has to play something here or a Duskwatch Recruiter gets to flip. They're going to answer Duskwatch and they're going to gain 2 life. A seldom used mode for the collective brutalities in the Death Shadow deck. Smack our opponent for 2 down to 3. Play a lethal Kitchen Finks. Kitchen Finks OP. Go back up to 8 life points. That puts us out of double Lightning Bolt range. I think we should be able to get the game here. What is this? 3 mana. That's not another Kozilek's Return, is it? Even another Kozilek's Return is okay. It means Gavany Township, Noble Hierarch, and Court of Calling are lethal draws. Court of Calling for Noble Hierarch, of course. Kozilek's Return, killing Kitchen Finks, returning Death Shadow to their hand. Okay, we now have 2 lethal attackers, and my opponent has a blocker. Oh no, this isn't. This is Tasigur. Right. Right. Alright, well now Gavany Township is lethal. Noble Hierarch is not. Court of Calling still pretty fantastic. Temple Garden not quite. We could put our opponent down to 1. I don't think that does as much as I need it to do here. Opponent going to leave themselves with Collective Brutality in the bin. All right, we're going to play the waiting game for a minute here. Opponent has some pretty good outs and some pretty good cards in their deck still. They've definitely stabilized, but I like our position. We're going to main phase Tasigur activation. That doesn't really do that much for them. Don't really want to give them collective brutality, nor do I want to give them anything else. This is a really close game. The games against Grixis oftentimes are. All right, so they're going to hold up end of turn Tasigur. They're going to smack. I don't think my opponent has double lightning bolt. They might just have some way to clear the board or something, but why not? They would do that pre-combat. Okay, so some shenanigans are certainly up here. I guess it's a Snapcaster Mage blocking one of our creatures, but they could have Snapcaster Collective Brutality'd. What is it that they have? Just a Culligan's Command? Making us discard Temple Garden? They could also have, like, Lightning Bolt, and they're just trying to get us close. Yeah, it's Culligan's Command. One mode here. They have a Static Caster? Oh, God. That's so unfortunate. I have not played Cabal's card Blitz. That is so lame. Static Caster with the haste and the flash. Again, it didn't need flash. It would have been just as good of a card if my opponent had just cast it here. They're going to kill my Birds of Paradise and then Culligan's Command or Lightning Bolt me out of the game. Looks like Culligan's Command to take me out. Man. Such a close game. Had opponent down to 3. Tasigur's going to finish us off here. Such a close one. All right, well, that makes us 2-2. Oh, that's brutal. What do we have on top? Should I even look? Collected Company into Noble Hierarch and Selfless Spirit, or Duskwatch Recruiter Selfless Spirit. That definitely would have been good enough. Though I guess we would have taken, like, on the current board, because the Static Caster being there, we definitely would have taken Duskwatch Recruiter and then probably Sin Collector. Maybe Selfless Spirit, too. Brutal. Brutal. All right, that makes us 2-2 here against Grixis. 25 minutes until the next round. I'm going to put up those VODs here for you guys to watch before the next one starts. Feels like we were super close. Again, I think this deck does need a little bit more to play against Grixis, and I think one of the best cards that we can play is Dusk to Dawn from Amonkhet. That's what it's called, right? Oh, I'm in other products. Dusk. Yeah, so this card right here. 4 mana, you destroy every card in their deck except Static Caster, and then 5 mana, return your graveyard to the battlefield. It's probably the best card I can think of in the matchup, and the deck is played enough, and the matchup is bad enough that I think a specific card for the deck could be good. There's other times where this possibly comes in, not really, but yeah, it is just a pretty sick card, though. All right, well, maybe for the next time. Right now, we are still 2-2. We are... There are too many screens here, and they all look exactly the same. Made that tough to figure out exactly which screen I was supposed to be on here. But this hand looks solid, playing up against a Scape Shift deck. With a turn to explore. So I always say that there are two types of Scape Shift decks. The builds where they cast the turn 1 search for tomorrow, and the builds where they don't. Looks like this opponent has not. Kind of want to be dealing damage to my opponent, but staying above 18 life is actually super relevant. So I'm just going to go Overgrown Tomb this turn into Selfless Spirit. Next turn we are going to Collected Company, hope to hit a Devoted Druid. And then the following turn we're going to try to win all of this with Selfless Spirit backup. Alright, Farseek. Not a huge deal again. Opponent can play a Titan or a non-lethal Scape Shift on the next turn. Oh, never mind. They can play a lethal Scape Shift. Yikes. Okay. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, not quite. Yeah, let's just attack with Selfless Spirit for 3. And we will end of turn or in response to Noble Hierarch dying, go grab a Devoted Druid. Not necessarily grabbing a Devoted Druid. We're going to Company before courting. We could have courted here and then untapped for the Company. Oh, it's Through the Breach Emrakul? We can actually still beat this. Don't tell anybody. Oh no, if it's Through the Breach Titan. What the hell is this? World Spine Worm. What? That's not a good card. Sure, we'll take 15. Oh, I've never been happier to see a Through the Breach resolve on the other side of the table. So we're going to go down to 5 here. Our opponent can Lightning Bolt us, but that is not going to be lethal. We are going to cast a Collected Company here and hopefully hit a Devoted Druid. It'd be pretty awkward if we don't. We did not. Well, do the worms have trample? The worms do have trample. Alright, this could be a little bit awkward here then. It's unfortunate. I guess I should have, yeah. I guess I should have just held open the Court of Calling. I think I did the math wrong on that, but what can we do now? I guess we can just take Scavenging Ooze and Duskwatch Recruiter, the creatures with the highest toughness. And we're not going to survive another turn. Alright. Yeah, we're still going to lose to World Spined Worm here. Need to hit, like, Kitchen Finks, I suppose. Yeah, World Spine Worm can shuffle back in. That's fine. So this can block one worm. Then, like, this can't block another worm. What if we Gavany? Does that give us enough? No, because then we can't Court of Calling. Oh, I just lost a World Spine Worm. Yeah, whereas if I did it in the other order, it's not guaranteed what the company should have hit. But I think my math has been wrong on this. My idea is that the company, like, there's actually 5 cards you can hit off company. You can hit Eternal Witness or Duskwatch Recruiter, so it's a total of 5. So you're actually better to hit off company looking for that part of the combo than you are with this. All right, let's pack it in. That's unfortunate. A bad way to lose game 1 here. And the matchup isn't super great even beyond that. Path to Exile is a really weird card against the deck because, well, World Spine Worm, but it also doesn't answer. I guess they're not playing Emrakul. I guess they're just playing World Spine Worm and Primeval Titan. Aven Mind Sensor is definitely the first card we want in, and then we want Sin Collector, and we probably want Tide Hollow Sculler. I think we don't need Scavenging Ooze. We don't really need our Kitchen Finks. Though gaining infinite life does beat them. Oh yeah, you know what? That's what I do. I keep in the infinite life, but I take out Walking Ballista. That's right. Okay, Fulminator Mage. We definitely want that as well. And then Reclamation Sage is like an arguable one, and these Path to Exiles are also arguable. I think I'm going to keep in 1 or 2 paths. I could board out another Kitchen Finks. If we hit the combo, we hit the combo. We should be good enough. Yeah, this seems fine. Let's see, Stony Silence. Yeah, alright. Our opponent might have like Grafdigger's Cage and some weird things like that against us. Blarg. That hand's horrible. I guess this hand we're keeping. Alright, opponent taking his good old time on this mulligan here. I'm going to throw on some music. Don't know what we're waiting for. There's not much more I can say about this hand. It's not great, but I'm not going to mulligan myself just out of the game. We're just going to have to hope to draw relevant spells. Alright, our opponent kept 7. Let's just bottom this. We're going to shuffle it away here anyways, but... kind of want to start grabbing Overgrown Tombs. I'm just going to grab Basic Forest here, though. There's a lot of things that we need to go right here. Alright, Overgrown Tomb. Say no. It's worth missing 1 point of damage to just put that tomb into play tapped and not take damage, because staying above 18 is pretty good. Alright, well, this Eternal Witness is pretty miserable. Let's smack for 3, play Verdant Catacombs, and do nothing else. At least we're bluffing representing a collected company here, but we actually just have straight nothing. What I'm going to do here is... what is this, a bunch of mountains? Alright, Sakura Tribe Elder, that's fine. I'm going to crack this Verdant Catacombs, put a land into play tapped, and then say whoops to my opponent in chat. So that way they think I have it. Alright. Some small value there. Maybe. Maybe that's just for me. Who knows? Alright, opponent's going to block this with Sakura here. And then sacrifice Sakura. They can play a Primeval Titan as soon as next turn. Alrighty, we get to go back up to 20, which is functionally different than 18, and there's the Anger of the Gods. That's one of the other reasons that I think this matchup is just kind of unwinnable. Can't even Eternal Witness back anything here other than a land still. Oops. There's the prime time, and that looks like it's going to be the end of our tournament here as well. We'll crack this. Need to find a path to exile. 3 turns ago. Not even 3 turns ago. I mean, right now is the soonest we can find path to exile. One of the cool things about Primeval Titan is when you path to exile him, my opponent's still going to get 3 Valakut triggers from the basic mountain that they fetch off of the path to exile. So, pretty funny. Alright, they're also going to get... So, even if we draw Path to Exile, which is the only thing that gets us out of the Primeval Titan, we still die a horrible death here. Let's play and activate a Duskwatch Recruiter, or we could just play an Eternal Witness. And that is going to be what is likely the end of the tournament. What are we now, 2 and 3? Fuck it. I don't even care. Alright. We're dead. That's gonna kill us. Just watching as my opponent just does whatever the hell they want over there. That'll do. Am I recording? Yes, but let's get this off. Alright, round 6 here. This hand seems reasonable. The Vizier is a little bit awkward. It's not too powerful. But we do get to play a turn 2 Vizier. Ooh, against Goblin Guide, this hand's bad. This hand's real slow against Goblin Guide. Or other types of goblins. No, it is the Guide variety. Alright. Yeah, kind of just wanted to hit a Noble Hierarch here. Though hitting a land into Noble Hierarch would also have been good. Alright, not quite. We can play a fetch land so that we can shuffle the top card of our deck if we miss with Goblin Guide. Seems pretty good. Let's play Windswept Heath and plan on doing that. Oh god, we have to discard. Well, I forgot about the discard. I should have played this slightly differently then. I'm going to discard Verdant Catacombs. What I should have done here is just planned on discarding both of my fetch lands so that I took slightly less damage, because this 1 point of damage may have been relevant. I should have just played Godless Shrine and pretend like Goblin Guide missed us there, because I have more than enough lands. This will gain us some small value here, though, as we get to see what Goblin Guide hits us with. A Noble Hierarch. So I could choose to draw Noble Hierarch now. Would mean next turn we play Noble Hierarch. If they kill Noble, we play Kitchen Finks. If they don't, we play Collected Company. You know what? That sounds kind of okay, too. Let's draw Noble Hierarch. My opponent doesn't have another land or anything. We might be okay. Looks like they're going to play an Eidolon here, though. Yeah, that's what happens main phase 2. Is Eidolons. Alright, well, I don't love Eidolon in general. The Noble Hierarch then becomes a little bit more awkward. But maybe the Noble Hierarch can stave off some damage from my opponent. Going to go ahead and crack for Basic Forest. Put Noble Hierarch into play. Yep, we take some damage. Godless Shrine. So the basic idea here is that if my opponent toasts the Noble Hierarch, then we don't take damage from whatever that burn spell is. And if they just leave Noble Hierarch on the battlefield, then we get to cast Collected Company, and we don't have to take any damage from Collected Company. Searing Blaze is obviously the worst possible outcome for us. Puts us down to 10. Combat's going to put us down to 6. Kitchen Finks will keep us at 6, but I do not love our spot. Okay, we're maybe at a spot where we can win here by courting for a Vizier. You know what? That's going to be really tough to manage, though. So basically, next turn, we get to cast Viscera for free, and that'll put us down to 2, or put us down to 4. Meaning if my opponent just swings out, we kind of have to block here. Which is good. I want to block, and I especially want to block with a Kitchen Finks. I think we might die either just naturally, or we might die with the Persist trigger on the stack. Alright, Lightning Bolt our face, untap, Lightning Bolt our face. That's easy enough. Let's move on to game 2 here. Oh, forgot to take this off. Sorry about that. This is not pre-recorded content. This is live. Lightning Helix finishing us off. Let's move into the sideboard, shake it off, and proceed with the match. This was a good matchup and a good hand, too. Just a bad hand against Burn. So we want all of our spot removal spells, our cheap creatures, probably our Reclamation Sage, and definitely Scavenging Ooze. I think I generally do bring in Rec Sage. Take out Walking Ballista, take out all the Court of Callings, and take out some combo pieces here. Where does that get us? Gets us down to 58. I guess we can keep in some combo pieces then. What else? Oh, Tidehollow Sculler I like to bring in as well. And we'll cut on the Devoted Druids and focus more on the other combo. The other combo is just so good against Burn that it is still worth playing. Selfless Spirit's good because it protects Scavenging Ooze and Tidehollow Sculler and all that fun stuff. So here's our deck for game 2. Hopefully we can get a slightly better anti-burn hand. The other thing that we could do is we could take out a Duskwatch Recruiter and keep in a Devoted Druid. I think it's fine like this. We don't have Court of Calling in the deck anymore, so we don't really have that much use for all of the extra mana that Devoted Druid creates other than Eternal Witness and Collected Company, and I guess also Scavenging Ooze, just because being able to activate that multiple times is still pretty good, but this is pretty much all we need. If somehow you know your opponent's on like 4 Grim Lavamancers, I still probably wouldn't board in Linvala. Be on the play here. We do have a turn 1 Mana Dork. We'll keep it. The biggest thing that's going to be awkward in this matchup is that my opponent is playing some Searing effects. They had at least one main deck, probably means more, and probably means that they have some in the sideboard as well. We're going to try to take the least amount of damage possible from our mana base and try to play a turn 3 Collected Company into Kitchen Finks Vizier and win the game that way. Seems sweet to me. How about you guys? Alright, the Goblin Guide. Let's see what Goblin Guide has in store. Draw me a land. No, but you know what? Noble Hierarch's also pretty good. Means that we're going to be able to chump block, or not chump block rather, but trade with Vizier next turn and still develop our mana for the cost of 1 life point here off of Horizon Canopy. This is the only real matchup where Horizon Canopy's downside really comes into play, the fact that it's a pain land. But this is pretty good. Generally, burn players are pretty happy to attack into a Vizier. They don't realize how willing I am to just snap trade it off here. We'll see. It might meet a Blazing Fate before we get to on top with it. Looks like there is going to be a pre-combat spell here. Or at least some Swift Spears. Nope. Searing Blaze. Like I said, it's fine. My opponent is now tapped out. We are going to stop on our own upkeep here because we revealed a Kitchen Finks to our Goblin Guide. So on our upkeep, we are going to cast this Collected Company. We know we want to cast Collected Company anyways, and it hitting a Kitchen Finks or 2 is the best possible scenario. We could take a Vizier. We have Vizier of Remedies. Huh. We could also just take another Vizier of Remedies. Or we could even just take a Voice of Resurgence. Honestly, all 4 of these options are pretty good. We are quite clearly grabbing this Kitchen Finks. And then what else do we want? Vizier is really tempting, isn't it? Wow, I have no idea. Opponent with 5 cards in hand. You know what? I'm going to go with Vizier. I think that we're in such a good position that it's really not going to matter too much here. Draw Birds of Paradise for the turn. Forgot about that draw step. Opponent now doesn't really want to attack with Goblin Guide. That's just going to persist Kitchen Finks. We'll see what happens here. Another Goblin Guide. That might prompt some attacks. That's the awkward part, because even though I grabbed Vizier, kind of want to not interact here. Alright, we drew an Overgrown Tomb and a Windswept Heath. That was pretty sweet. Turn off this stop for now. Go down to 8. Best draw is Court of Calling, though it's not in the deck, and the last Vizier of Remedies is on the bottom. If I block, then I should have taken the Voice of Resurgence. If I don't block, I go to 8, which means I'm not dead. But it's a little dangerous. Alright, I'm going to block. I think my opponent's got some interaction here. Maybe they baited us, but you know what? Going back up to 12 against the burn deck, I'm not going to complain. Now we have a Path to Exile that we can cast in addition to this Collected Company. So Horizon Canopy is making us take a little bit of damage here, though. That's awkward. Let's swing for 2 with Vizier. Kitchen Finks is going to try to block here, potentially. And I think my plan is to just Coco in response to this fetch land. Let's not do this. Alright, so in response to this fetch land, let's cast ourselves a Collected Company, because now they don't have Atarka's Command or Skullcrack mana open. Scavenging Ooze, Eternal Witness, all of these are pretty good. Devoted Druid, also pretty solid on the current board and just in general. think I don't want to try to do any crazy combo things. We're at 11. We might actually just be dead here. So if my opponent has a Boros Charm to put us down to 7 and then Boros Charm plus Lightning Bolt, might be the end of the game. But if we get to untap, we get to gain 2 more life points at least, and then Vizier, we can start sacrificing cards to gain even more life if we really need to. All right, Boros Charm down to 7. Yeah, I think we may have slightly overcommitted. I don't know if I'm tilting today. They do still need another Boros Charm, which would be pretty good for them regardless. And if they don't have that, then maybe we win. All right, Swift Spear we can beat. We're going to chump block Swift Spear. Or, as far as we know, we're going to block Swift Spear. What's on top of the deck? Goblin Guide let us know. Averting Catacombs. Well, we've been drawing a lot of cards with these Goblin Guides here. Oh, we're going to put so many more creatures in the graveyard right now. This is insane for Scavenging Ooze. We're about to put 3 more dudes in the graveyard. 4 more? 4 more dudes in the graveyard? You've got to be kidding me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dudes in the graveyard. That means we can gain 4 life next turn. Lightning Helix on Scavenging Ooze. That makes sense. But I still don't feel too bad about this situation. We can Company here. We'll try to draw the card for turn. All right. And then let's just Company now. We're at 7, which is a pretty sizable life total. Our opponent doesn't have us dead just yet, or they would have killed us previously. Take Eternal Witness, Selfless Spirit, and grab the Scavenging Ooze or the Kitchen Finks. We're going to have enough time to just grab this Scavenging Ooze here, though. I think we're going to play Averting Catacombs and not use it. Oh, no. Let's play a Birds of Paradise. That's a lot better. All right. Leave an open Path to Exile mana. Hitting our opponent for 2 life points. Should get to attack next turn. Or not get to attack, but we should be able to survive until our next turn. And then, yeah, we're going to play a Scavenging Ooze. We're going to be able to immediately gain 5 life on our next turn. Assuming our opponent doesn't have a Boros Charm here. Or 3 spells that they can cast, but that seems highly unlikely. If they have 3 spells that they can cast, then we're probably pretty close anyways. Delphilor, I'm sorry, I didn't see your comment when you first said it. I don't know if your name's Defilor or Defilor. But all right, we'll block here. And a Goblin Guide. Okay, so my opponent is just loaded on creatures. That makes sense. Let's see. Goblin Guide, show us some more cards. You absolutely know you're going to hit there with Goblin Guide because Goblin Guide is hit every turn leading up to this. How do we want to play around this? I think we want to go block. Block here, block here. If my opponent casts a spell, then we can sacrifice Selfless Spirit to protect the Goblin Guide. If not, we just let these cards go to the graveyard. That's fine. Now let's play an absolutely huge Scavenging Ooze. How does that sound? Sounds pretty good to me. My opponent does not have a green mana open. This is going to prompt a concession here pretty shortly, I have to imagine. Let's do it up. All right. Yep. Seems great. Scavenging Ooze, OP. Think we made some interesting decisions this game, but ultimately not super punishing. My opponent might be able to path Scavenging Ooze. Even if they do, they've got one card off the top of the deck, and they need that to be enough to win them the game, because otherwise we are just taking over here. I could have played my infinite mana combo. I just don't think we need it. Though infinite mana plus Scavenging Ooze, like I said, that's kind of enough to win it. I just don't think it's worth doing here. Let's see, what do they have? Eidolon of the Great Revel, a.k.a. Eidolon of the Great Chump Blocks, and then they're going to cast another spell after Eidolon. Seems good. They're going to path Ooze after Eidolon? No, they're just going to concede. That makes more sense to me. Let's jump into the sideboard. Any changes we want to make? I don't think so. Devoted Druid, the reason I didn't grab it is just a little bit slow. I think I potentially could have taken some more aggressive lines, but my opponent did have some mana open at all points. I think I should have actually just taken more conservative lines and just grabbed Voice of Resurgence plus Kitchen Finks. I knew I wasn't going to use the Vizier, though I thought I might if my opponent had tapped out or something, but wasn't the case. What do we have here? A turn 1 Birds of Paradise off Windswept Heath into a turn 2 Tidehollow Sculler that I can't quite cast. Our opponent mulliganed to 6, though, and this hand already seems pretty good. Let's keep. We can go turn 1 Path to Exile, turn 2 Tidehollow Sculler. Oh, that's pretty good for us, too. No turn 1 play from my opponent. Gotta be feeling great about that against a burn deck. I kind of still want to play my turn 1 Birds of Paradise, though. Is that crazy? It's either turn 1 Birds of Paradise or turn 2 Godless Shrine. I guess I have so much mana, I really shouldn't be in that big of a rush to get it all out there. It's slightly punished if they have Eidolon, but even so, not really. We can just untap Path Eidolon and then play Birds of Paradise. That's fine. There's some really complicated permutations with this mana here. I think we're probably going to have to wind up shocking ourselves at least once. There's just too many variables to play around. Like, we're probably going to have went to lead with the Temple Garden so that we can crack Windswept Heath for a Plains. Though, getting as many... We already have a lot of white mana. Just getting as much green mana into play as possible is going to be good for when the Scavenging Ooze does come out. Yeah, I guess that's fine. So what's awkward here, though, is if my opponent kills the Birds of Paradise, we're at a point where the following turn we would have to shock to play the Sculler. Looks like that's not actually going to come up even. Oh, let's make sure we play this Path to Exile before we play this Birds of Paradise. So Eidolon's getting insane value. They're getting 2-for-1 value off of it, and they're hitting us for 2 damage. It's about as good of value as you can ask for a spell that costs 2 red mana. Red, Divination, hit you for 2. Now, hopefully my opponent is just flooded anyways. Okay, Rift Bolt. Well, Rift Bolt's going to kill Tidehollow Sculler. Relic of Progenitus is going to make our graveyard awkward here. Interesting. And Lightning Bolt targeting Birds of Paradise? Indeed. Alright, and they're going to make us exile Windswept Heath. Sounds good to me. So we can actually... This interaction doesn't... Oh, well, that's a great card. Huh. My opponent's on no cards in hand. They effectively have one extra card in hand because of the relic. But I think I just want to play Noble and Vizier here. So I don't really want to play Tidehollow or Voice into Riftbolt. And I think Vizier might die to Riftbolt nonetheless. And the other really cool thing about this play is if we get to untap with a Vizier and cast a Tidehollow Sculler, we get to do that sweet thing where we sacrifice it in response. Now, my opponent is also almost Hellbent. Meaning that if they cast their... if they're able to cast both of their cards in their hand, plus the card that they draw for turn, say all three of them cost 1 mana. Now that's kind of a long shot, but should it happen... Where's this Riftbolt pointed at? Riftbolt is pointed at my face. That's going to resolve them. But if they're able to dump their whole hand here, they have effectively blanked Scully, which is a little bit annoying. Alright, looks like they're going to pass the turn, and we are going to just be able to use Tidehollow Sculler as a discard spell. I guess they were trying to bait us into F6ing or something here. We're going to exile Birds of Paradise. Makes our Scavenging Ooze slightly worse, but I think ultimately that's okay. Let's lead with Voice of Resurgence, I suppose, because why not? It's a pretty good card to start with. A very good place to start. So now I think I play Tidehollow Sculler and then in response sacrifice Tidehollow Sculler, effectively trading Tidehollow 1 for 1 with a card in their hand. Yeah, let's do that. So I've got to play this, and I believe what I have to do is put the triggered ability onto the stack while I hold the control key. As far as how this works on Magic Online. Alright, this is on the stack already. So now let's sacrifice a creature. We're going to sacrifice Sculler. So now they get the card back, but we haven't taken the card yet. Then we are going to scry one. Again, if they want to dump their hand now, we get 2/5/5s. And then we've got lethal for next turn. So that seems not great for my opponent to do. My opponent really should let this resolve. We get pretty rewarded if we get to take something like Searing Blaze here. Any Searing effect. Let's scry one. We'll bottom this. And now what do we get to take? A Boros Charm or a Lightning Helix? Lightning Helix kills Scavenging Ooze, but Boros Charm is just more damages. Let's take Boros Charm. And then let's crash for 2. So leaving our opponent with Lightning Helix plus a Relic of Progenitus. They're going to crack that now. Figured that was coming sooner or later. And put our opponent down to 17. Alright, that's not a huge deal. We do have to just be mindful of the Lightning Helix. We don't want to, sacrifice our Voice of Resurgence and turn on my opponent's Lightning Helix here. Lightning Helix face, and then another spell at our face. No, they just have to do that main phase. That makes sense. So now we're at a spot where Scavenging Ooze, we can start sacrificing our board to Vizier. Let's just lead with this. I think we might go ahead and sacrifice both of our mana dudes here. Yeah, let's start by sacrificing Birds of Paradise. We're going to get a Scry one. Definitely keeping Kitchen Finks on top of the deck. Then let's go ahead and eat Birds of Paradise. Paying 1. How does that look? Are they going to Skullcrack us in response? They are. So in response to that, I could also just do this on their upkeep as well. Yeah, I guess I will do it on their upkeep. Oh, we get a voice token here. Oh, that's why this is great. Okay, yeah. So let me put a stop on my opponent's upkeep. Think they got outplayed here. There's a lot of things going on in this deck, a lot of stuff to pay attention to for our opponent. So we will attack our opponent now for 3. And then on my opponent's upkeep, I'm going to turn Voice of Resurgence into a 5/5, giving us almost lethal and putting us back up to 6 life points. It's going to make it really hard for them to win, and then we are going to draw a Kitchen Finks. So let's sacrifice this. It gives us another 5/5, and that's going to be a 6/6 in a second. And let's eat Voice of Resurgence. And let's F6. Actually, I should not F6. But we are going to keep this Kitchen Finks on top for sure. And now playing the Kitchen Finks will mean that we've got 2 6/6s, a 4/4, and a 1/1. How much is that? That is 17 damage. Looks like 17 to me. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 5 is 17. Yep, that's lethal. And that'll do it. So that's how you beat Burn. A little bit of a shaky start. I do think that the Burn matchup is incredibly good. We got to see a seldom used ability of Vizier there. Sack Outlets just do so much in Magic, and I think that this is even an interaction that I forgot to bring up in my primer of the deck, which if you've not already watched it, I have a 6-hour primer of the ins and outs of Vizier Collected Company. But sometimes just putting your creatures in the graveyard so that you can eat them with Scavenging Ooze, it seems pretty crazy, but sometimes that is just enough. That is going to make us 3-3 here in the Modern Challenge. I think we have one more round before this top 8 starts. We're not going to be in top 8. No way close to it. Nowhere close to it. But still a sweet game. And yeah, I was pretty happy to be able to outplay a Burn opponent there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. .com ads. That's kind of a tongue twister. Yeah, I need to get my hands on some Dusk Dawns. Let me see how much those are on MTGO. Traders. That card seems really sweet. It's just good in a lot of matchups, too. Yeah, 8 cents. Alright. If anybody has them, feel free to ship them my way, but 8 cents, I definitely want to pick those up soon, then. I'll need them for paper too, but it's an awkward card because I have to mouse over it so that everybody can read it. But it seems good against like the Humans deck that just emerged, as well as some like potentially awkward matchups like Fish and I don't know, really just Fish and Humans are like the main ones, and then it also kills all the creatures out of Grixis. Kills most of the creatures out of Jund as well, and Junk Death Shadow. Notably, it does kill a Scavenging Ooze that is slightly bigger. And then on the backside, the Dawn half is great. It's not so great against the first matchups that I listed, Humans and Slivers, because it's just a little bit slow. But against Grixis, Jund, and then, like anything grindy seems absolutely insane. But then when you get even more value, is you can just kind of bring this card in against control decks, too. So playing against something like Black Moon or, I don't know, anything. you can just Dawn and return all of your 2-cost or 2 power creatures from your graveyard to your hand. So notably, the only creatures in the deck that it kills are Kralin Horde Howler, Kitchen Finks, and Scavenging Ooze. It also kills Linvala wherever she's at. She's over here. Also kills Linvala, but that one's not as big of a deal. But Linvala, I mean, it's in the sideboard. It's another 4-cost card. Linvala might even get cut for Dusk to Dawn. But noticeably, the Kitchen Finks is going to return from the Persist, and Duskwatch Cruder and Scavenging Ooze, even though they died at dusk, they return at dawn. So both of those things, I think, are pretty sweet. Card's got some cool flavor, too. So I appreciate that. 2 more minutes here till we jump into the next round. That's what I'm going to change in the deck. Let's see, what would I have to do? I guess I'd have to cut Linvala at that point. Don't really want to cut Eidolon. I could cut Stony Silence. Go back and forth on Stony Silence, whether it's needed or not. You wouldn't really bring in Dusk against Affinity, I don't believe. I think you can probably get away with this for now, but I'm not super sure. I think I'm going to load up Eternal for after this stream is done. Give me 1 second, guys. Alrighty, last round should be starting in a moment here. 1 of 35 matches, only half the players still playing. The round time can't go too much above 50 minutes here. Oops. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to stream after this. Oh, Eternal didn't load up. Weird. What you doing, Eternal? I guess we can just throw this on the screen for a second here. Am I not logged into Steam? I think I am. Nah, just being difficult. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to play any more on this stream after this. Mainly, I'm just a little bit hungry. I got some other stuff I can do. All right, let's ship this quest because we're almost done this one. Primal Influence in Versus Battle. That seems tough. I do want to win these Draft or Forge games. Haven't drafted it all this month. We're a third of the way through the month. Wow, round time's still going. That is pretty crazy. My throat is feeling a lot better than it was this morning. Woke up and just could not breathe. You know what? I've got 2 minutes. Let me go take some medicine, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, a minute and a half left. Let's do it to it. Just realized my stream title still says 2-1. Modern Challenge. We're 3-3. We're totally dead. Here we go. Round 7. Hopefully we're playing against Ixidor's Dreams. We are not. We did win the die roll, though, so that's sweet. And we will have to mulligan this hand, so that's bad. I guess we'll get to keep this one, though. Broke even, all things considered. We'll bottom this bird. I'm just going to shuffle it back in. Our opponent went down to 6, and they are going to put their scry on the top. They'll actually get to draw their scryed card, which is super unlucky. I think we can just grab a forest here. Our mana's a little bit tight and awkward, but if we really run into a problem, we can go get a Godless Shrine. We're probably just going to be able to dump our hand turn 2. Ooh, Snow-Covered Mountain. Lightning Bolt from our opponent. Interesting. So I don't know if we're playing against red deck yet, or if we're just playing against Scred Red. Let's just play Viscera Seer or nothing at all. I just don't know if we're playing against Burn or not. Either way, I don't want to play Duskwatch Recruiter. If I'm playing against Scred, they're just going to let the Duskwatch Recruiter resolve and then flip it, or they're just going to kill it. But that doesn't give me the option to activate it at any point. I guess they could play a Mind Stone. Alright, sure. Just in case it is red deck, I'm going to continue to grab basic forests here. Well, let's take off this upkeep stop. Yeah, so my opponent does just pass a turn. So I was a little bit afraid of, but it does give us a 3-3 to smash in with here. Could save this Viscera Seer so that we can cast it in the same turn we cast this Court of Calling. What does that let us do? That lets us chord for X equals 2 next turn. I feel like we're definitely playing against Skred since they haven't done anything to us. Let's keep this Windswept Heath. Grab an Overgrown Tomb here. Alright, let's smack with the Howler. Let's draw a card. That's a little bit of an awkward draw against Skred Red here. Sure, I'll play Vizier here. I don't know too much about this deck and what's going on, but like we might want Vizier here to like be able to kill a Chandra or something here if Chandra just down ticks and kills Kralin Horde Howler. Alright, Pia and Kira. That's reasonable. By reasonable, I mean a reasonable path to exile target. So we could path it and then chord for X equals 2. Gets us what, like Devoted Druid and flips back Howler? Don't know if I love that. I think I'd rather just swing with the Howler. Maybe they block. Can't imagine that happens here, though. So now my opponent's got tons of mana. I don't know if Skred typically plays like a Boros Reckoner as a kill shot or not. Alright, here comes the Chandra, and then they'll have the Thopter tokens to protect Chandra here. Scry 1. Definitely bottoming that. It's absolutely horrible. We're going to have to let Chandra tick up a little bit here, but you know what we also get to do? Well, never mind. I was gonna say we get to chord for Eternal Witness as a freebie. Doesn't look like we quite get that one anymore. Noble Hierarch's pretty good though as well. The other thing that we could do is chord for another Noble Hierarch. I don't think I want to commit all into that. I think I want to chord for Duskwatch end of turn here. But let's attack Chandra. Attempt to trade Vizier here for both Thopter tokens. Okay, I'm fine with this. Now, end of turn, we're going to chord of calling for a Duskwatch Recruiter, and then just try to grind ourselves back in the game. Could also chord right now for Eternal Witness into Duskwatch. That seems worse. Chandra gets to tick up and hit us for 2 points of damage, but then we get to put a 2/2 onto the battlefield. Hopefully that's good enough. It's likely to not be, especially... Alright, Snow-Covered Mountain. That just nugs us for 2. Wait, does that work? Why can't I view their exile? Alright, here it is. Okay, yeah, the mountain is still in their exile zone. That's what I thought. Alright, they're going to play Koth. They're going to make a 4/4 and smack us. That's fine. No blocks. End step, we're going to grab a Duskwatch and try to kill Chandra. They're going to cast a Simian Spirit Guide. Seems sweet. Seems sweet. I don't think I can really punish that. Like, I can't grab a Scavenging Ooze. We do get to make our Duskwatch a 3/3 because of the Exalted, so I guess that's good enough. Our life total's a little bit low, even. Yeah, so it's just Selfless Spirit or Duskwatch Recruiter here. And I'd rather grab Duskwatch, even though it's not a guaranteed kill on Chandra. It does still seem pretty good to me. Let's look at the top 3 to start things off here. Noble Hierarch or Vizier? I think Vizier is going to be the best off for us. Noble Hierarch would have allowed us to threaten Koth, but we can still threaten Koth next turn. Let's attack Chandra and try to finish her off. Is Koth's untap a plus? It is. Okay. Alright, they're going to chump block to save Chandra. I'm going to play Vizier and then play my Horizon Canopy. So we will be taking 4 here from Koth and 2 from Chandra, which means both of those Planeswalkers represent lethal next turn. No, add a mana for each mountain you control. Stormbreath Dragon plus Monstrous. What is the Monstrous? Monstrosity 3, and then Chandra, no activation. Wow, that's a pretty crazy way to lose to Stormbreath Dragon. My opponent just makes it monstrous here. Hits us for 7 damage in the air. Should have taken the Birds of Paradise. And then they Chandra plus, don't cast the card, and we lose. That's pretty crazy. That one's definitely new to me. Fulminator Mage, pretty reasonable. Sin Collector, this is a great matchup for Tidehollow Sculler. Don't really think we want to be Abrupt Decaying. Do think we probably want to be Reclamation Saging, though, so maybe we do want to Abrupt Decay. We don't know exactly what they're going to board in, but chances are it is some number of Grafdigger's Cages and the like. Vizier seems fine. Selfless Spirit seems insane. Path to Exile seems mediocre. Voice of Resurgence seems pretty good. Walking Ballista seems a little bit mediocre, as does Scavenging Ooze here. We're going to board out Viscerous here. Infinite Life seems good against them. We probably want some type of combo. I think I'd rather like the Ballista, though. It seems weird to bring in Fulminator Mage against a mono red deck, but Scrying Sheets represents a decent amount of value. It means that in the late game they get to draw a lot of free cards. I think I'm going to board out a Court of Calling or a Vizier of Remedies, though I do think our opponent's deck might be slightly low on removal. So just the ability to combo seems pretty sweet. Both of them are combo cards. Means maybe we just take out a Noble Hierarch. I think I like that. Yeah, seems good. Could board out the Court of Callings because they're probably going to have Grafdigger's Cage, but like I said, I don't love that strategy in general. I'm going to keep this hand. It's certainly a little bit awkward, but this is how we lose. It's how we lose. Our opponent has access to a lot of 1-mana removal spells as well. No Fatal Pushes, but Skred does kill a Noble Hierarch on turn 1. And now that we don't play a land, they're definitely going to run it back again if they have it. Mind Stone. That's fine. More like Fine Stone. Alright, we'll play Selfless Spirit to protect our Noble Hierarch here. Opponent wanted to just anger us out of the game. They could also Chandra us right now, too. Molten Rain on our Temple Garden. Oh, only creatures? How unlucky. How unlucky. Alright, well still, if we draw lands, we can cast our Duskwatch Recruiters. If not, we can start smacking for 3. I think I just hit the wall at this point and just wanted to lose. This hand was not that great. When you have a hand that seems awkward and it has a Chord of Calling in it, you should just mulligan, because I was like never going to cast this Chord of Calling anyways. Goblin Dark Dwellers on the Skred. Skred on the Noble Hierarch. Let's make it indestructible. Still a pretty threatening creature here. 5 mana, 4/4 menace. We're going to be dead in 4 turns. We need to get these Kitchen Finks out there. We're going to be dead in 2 turns. Can't block either of my opponent's creatures. That's going to be it for me. Let's cast Walking Ballista because we can. Thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this series. Another Stormbreath Dragon. That's all we got. That'll do it. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you are not already, feel free to check out my YouTube channel. There I post full stream VODs as well as highlights and things like that. And if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to check me out streaming live at twitch.tv/NoLucksGiven. Again, apologies. I think I got a little bit tilted or just a little bit tired. Like I said, been a little bit sick today. But thank you for everybody that stuck with me regardless. Appreciate it a lot. Have a good one. See you next time. Peace.